welcome to This Just In with This Just In as your host, Danny Alsop, staring me down right now live as I try to record this intro. Danny, if you got, yeah, she's moving on, great. Only professionals working here on This Just In and at KTVB. Today, part two of our conversation with that guy, Sports Director Jay Tust. And even though we're wearing the exact same clothes, this is a totally different episode recorded on a totally different day. We have come back. We have changed in the clothes we were wearing on Friday. Jay, thank you for coming back 4 days later.
Absolutely. I hate Danny, but if you watch part one, you would actually realize that means I really admire her and her work ethic. But you have to watch part one to
see. If you miss This Just In, you miss a lot. Yeah, you got to watch all the episodes. Well done, teasing backward. Yeah. Jay Tust. Nobody does a plug like Jay Tust. Jay, thanks for being back. Let's talk about how I'm feeling kind of old. First off, I am old, so I guess it's appropriate. But also, I heard from both the head coaches of the Boise State tennis teams last week. I remember covering both of them when they were literally children playing at Boise State, and now they are grown-up men coaching their teams in national championship tournaments. Man, do you ever get tired of what you cover, especially sports, making you feel old? Because you see that all the time.
I've been here long enough now where kids that weren't even born are now, almost in high school or basically getting there. That's how long I've been here. I think July 18th, I wrap up my 14th year at KTVB.
Wow.
Not that anybody's keeping track.
I mean, I started, and I had a few different stints, but I started back in 2002. So, at this point now, there are kids who were being born or weren't born who are graduating college.
I remember when I first got here, whether it be Mark D or Carolyn, you'd meet people and they'd be like, "Oh, I've watched them my whole life" or whatever. Yeah. And I can't remember who my wife was talking to the other day, but she got one of those where it was, I can't remember who it was, but some girl in high school, and she was like, "Oh yeah, we watched Jay like when we were little kids," and I'm like,
"She's like, no, that's impossible because I'm only 22.
Yeah.
Wait, oh no. Oh no.
Yeah, I'm 1,000 now.
Well, it doesn't look it at all. You don't look a day over 990.
I appreciate it.
Is there a former player who's now a coach or doing something else that makes you feel proud, though? Where it's like, oh, I knew them when?
I mean, Kellen Moore. But
yes,
I would say even more so.
I actually covered Kellen, when he came in as a freshman. Yeah.
I'd even see even more so than that, just like to stay locally, but Nate Potter. I mean, Nate Potter, Timberline High School.
Yes.
Works his way up. Now he's the offensive coordinator at Boise State, his alma mater, and he's got kids and he's older now. And I want to say he's like 37, not to reveal his age, but I'm sure Wikipedia or some other website out there would have it. So, but I mean, covered him when he was just a college kid, and now. Yeah. Now look at him, the OC at Boise State.
I covered him in high school. Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. That's really awesome to see. Speaking of players going big time, let's talk about Boise State's Ashton Genty. Yeah. We're still talking about him because he was really kind of that important to Boise State. He sets the record in the NFL draft for Bronco players, going 6th overall to the Raiders. Just what are your thoughts on that pick?
Awesome. I mean, I think going into the draft, everybody maybe kind of assumed, and then the Browns made a trade, and it was like, oh, God, is he going to Cleveland?
Oh, no, a fate I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy.
Yeah, the cool thing about that, and just kind of an underlying story there, so Mason Graham goes number 5 overall to Cleveland, and Genty goes 6th overall to Las Vegas. Well, Mason Graham at one point in time was committed to Boise State.
Really?
Yeah, and then some little school in the Big Ten, I think it's Michigan. You have to work on the pronunciation.
Oh, Michigan State?
No, they don't.
Probably Michigan State. Maybe Central Michigan?
It's shorter because they don't have the state on the end.
Western Michigan? Yeah. Those Broncos, maybe? Oh, okay.
But no, so he was committed here, and then Michigan came in and offered him, and he ended up as a Wolverine and went on to win a national title. But you're talking about two guys that at one point were committed to Boise State, going at number 5 and number 6 overall in the NFL draft. Like pretty wild that would be the case. And then not long behind them is Colson Loveland, who is actually from Idaho.
Gooding, to the Bears, of all towns.
Another Michigan Wolverine from Gooding, yes. And he goes 10 overall. But the cool thing about Ashton, we've all seen him and known about him for a while now, and the rest of the world is figuring him out. You know, it's funny because whether it be him or Ahmed Hassanin, like you get on social media and it's like the untold story, and I'm like, no, we've told that story for like 2 years now or more even. You know,
I know, Jay, but
which I don't get offended by. I just think it's funny because it's like, no, it's just the rest of the world finding out about him.
I don't get offended by it. I don't know who's saying that.
Yeah.
That Jay gets offended by that. Most of the nation, unfortunately, their loss does not watch your sports reports, Jay.
Jerks.
I mean, they should. They should watch the blueprint. During the football season.
Agreed.
People have also said it's like, oh, he's short. He's not short. Like he's 5'9". No. Running backs don't need to be tall. In fact, sometimes it's a detriment.
Yeah.
Also, like I saw him at pro day. Dude with his shirt off. It's like he is jacked to the rafters.
Yeah, he's one of those guys that if I look like him, I would not own shirts.
Why are you wasting your time?
Yeah.
He should just actually play just like in shoulder pads.
I almost agree. Yeah, just why even wear a jersey? Why? For him, I don't even know if he needs to wear shoulder pads.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
100%. Why hide that from the world?
Yeah,
Ashton?
no, he's not. Yeah, that's a dumb
about.
narrative. He's not small. I agree with you. He might be 5'8", 5'9", but he's like 215 and rock solid. And for him, we saw last year his low center of gravity when he lowers his pads. He's like impossible to tackle. Now the NFL is a different league; it's a different game. Right. It's not going to be that easy. But I actually think that he is built for this. He will be really tough to tackle at the next level as well.
100%, because running backs, and this is just my take it for what it is, but the running backs who do well. Thank God we're
getting this. Yeah.
The running backs who do well in the NFL are running backs not who can bounce it outside and turn an 8-yard gain into a 60-yard gain. A lot of running backs in college can do that because
you're faster than people.
Right, and the defenses are what they are. The NFL running backs are ones that can turn a 2-yard gain into a 5-yard gain, where it's like, I might be tackled, but I'm going to spin out of this, and then the next guy gets me, but, after 3 yards, or I'm going to drag a guy a couple yards.
You're a Niners fan, so I thought you were going to say a good running back in the NFL is on the field more than he's on the DL.
That's 100% the case, actually. Christian McCaffrey, we love you. When you come back, please stay healthy, brother.
Yeah, how about this? Actually, as long as we're talking about Ashton, you keep giving me jokes for texting my phone.
Yeah, what's going on Twitter right now, Jake?
We've been waiting. We really have to see if Deuce is going to wear the number 2.
Oh, yes.
And he is. The Raiders just tweeted it out. Ashton Genty will rock the number 2 in the NFL. And there was a kicker.
I mean, not just tweeted it out. As we're recording this on Tuesday.
Yeah.
You mean on Friday they tweeted that out?
They tweeted it out on Friday. But I just wanted to, make sure that I was checking my phone to be on top of it, just in case as a reminder there.
Memories.
But no, there was like a little bit of suspense because they had a kicker, Daniel Carlson, on the roster that's worn the number 2 for a little while.
Yeah.
He apparently isn't so attached to the numbers though, because he was 8. Marcus Mariota came in at one point in time. He surrendered 8 to Mariota, went to 2. Now Ashton comes in. I'm sure there's more than a handshake agreement going on.
Hopefully
here.
Genty cuts him a check.
I'm assuming something, a nice dinner. In the past you've seen, people have bought cars or whatever.
Yes.
Those guys just their finances are just on a different level.
6 figures for
so
a number.
No clue what Ashton did or has to do or whatever, but he is number 2, and that is a big deal because some of his branding is around the number 2 or his Instagram account. He is Deuce. Yes. And if you're not wearing 2, then you have to why's your Instagram handle?
Right, you'd have to go to 22 or maybe 32.
Deuces, add an S to it. I don't know. But either way, he gets his number, and that's awesome.
Yeah. That is fantastic. Genty, is he the best Boise State football player of all time? And compare him to like a Kellen Moore, winningest quarterback in the history of college football, Ryan Clady, number 12 pick overall for the Denver Broncos back in the day, just a road grader of an offensive lineman. He's the one who blocked on that Statue of Liberty play to win them the Fiesta Bowl. Or heck, even a Jim McMillan back in the day. I don't know, but is he, you think, the best ever?
Comparison is the thief of joy, Justin.
It's my job.
I don't know why you have
it's
to
also
go
the
here.
only way we can fill time on AM sports radio and on streaming shows where we're talking about sports.
Amen on that one. I do think he is.
Yeah.
I mean, what we saw, we're not going to see again. I mean, 50-3 is stupid, which is what Kellen Moore, that was his record. You have to have so many good pieces around you.
Yes.
Boise State's moving up into the Pac-12, and more so than like the competition they're facing, it's some of the lower competition that they're used to beating up on that has now been kind of weeded out. So 50-3 is ridiculous, but gosh, there's part of me that thinks like maybe there's actually a better chance of somebody going 50-3 than rushing for 2,601 yards as a Bronco. That is so many yards. Yeah. And I think that the best thing about Ashton is the way that he went about it. He never, I want to say broke character, but that just was his character.
Yeah.
It felt like leading up to the draft, Travis Hunter would say something and you go, oh man, I don't know if I love that. And then like you scroll a little further down your feed on X or Twitter or whatever, and you're like, then it's Ashton just saying like the exact opposite or perfect thing where you're like, get that guy on my team.
Yeah.
That means something. So
and he's in a great situation with the Raiders, a head coach, as you know, being a Seahawks fan, loves to run the football, loves to feature a running back like he does. So I mean, he's going to get plenty of opportunities.
Yeah, and I always wonder, like, it's really funny. There's this joke going around. It's happened at some point in time where they send a quarterback a playbook and they tape a $100 bill to the final page, and you don't tell the person that. Then all of a sudden, when they realize they have a $100 bill, you realize that he actually read his playbook, got to the final page, right? So there's stuff like that kind of creeps up at the NFL draft. And I just go back to the Heisman Trophy ceremony, and the day of the Heisman, there's a photo shoot with all the players. And Ashton's the only one rocking his Boise State gear, right?
Yes.
And everybody's like, look at him. He loves this school, which he does and he did totally. But the reason why he wore it is because somewhere in the pamphlet that the Heisman Trophy finalists were given, it said to wear your school colors or wear your school attire. And he was the only one that showed up wearing his school attire to that photo shoot. Yeah, and so like it was kind of thought of like, oh, he just loves Boise State so much. Again, which he does.
Sure, but
he clearly read and followed instructions, and you just wondered if that at some point there's some.
He read the instruction manual. I don't even do that when I'm putting together furniture.
Nothing. Yeah,
good for you.
Somewhere along the way, these GMs and they analyze everything.
Yes.
One of the 32 NFL. Draft evaluators or rooms or whatever, somebody had to bring up follow directions.
Yeah.
Did what he was told.
Yeah. Got to do what you're told. Wow. That's amazing. Jay, great conversation.
You're told. It's not this it's not this show, right?
Thank you for not calling it a podcast.
I know, I almost did.
And doing what you're told by calling it a streaming show on KTVB+.
We're
going to talk more Bronco football in a second from their coach cashing in to the weirdness of the Pac-12 next on This Just In. Welcome back. Spencer Danielson, head coach of Boise State, just signed a 5-year deal. Going to pay him about $11 million over that span. Jay, thoughts on that?
Jeremiah Dickey is generously rewarding a guy that he really believes in. In December of 23, when Spencer was originally named the head coach, he signed a 5-year deal worth $6.5 million in generational wealth to you or I.
Yes.
And an unbelievable payday, but in the real world of college sports and coaching, that is actually a pretty frugal deal, to be honest with you, especially for a Boise State head coach, getting him at about $1.1 million.
Some of the elite head coaches out there in college football making 8 figures.
Kirby Smart, some of those guys are even over now. They're over 10. I mean, it's pretty wild how generously compensated some of these coaches are these days. But for Spencer, I think he went out there and he earned it, and he showed that he wants to stay here, and he cares about the city, and he cares about his players. And in a really tricky era in the NIL space where Boise State doesn't have all the money in the world to afford players, he somehow is still retaining a lot of talent right now and preventing it from going into the portal. And I could even argue some of the guys that have gone into the portal, it's not necessarily about dollars. I mean, some, it has been that, but not all of them. And now his salary or his contract goes It's a 5-year deal at $11 million. So it basically almost doubles. Which, again, this is Jeremiah Dickey taking care of a guy that he really believes in, not only now but in the future. But that $2 million is significant, Justin, because there's only been one other head coach, I believe, that has made $2 million as a base salary in a season, and that is Chris Peterson.
Speaking of which, Bronco fans have been through a lot as far as head coaches go. Thank you for setting me up. Is he going to go the path of Coach Hawkins, Coach Peterson, who even with that kind of money left for UW, even Brian Harsin left for Auburn? $2 million seems like a lot, but again, there are coaches out there making $10 million, $8 million, like even $5 million, still like twice what he's currently making. And I know it's not all about the money, and for us, it's like, if we're making $2 million a year, it's like,
I'm gonna work.
What's $2 million more? Like, I can't fathom that amount of money.
I'm working a year, and I will see you guys on the flip side.
Right? Yeah. And I'm retiring.
I go back to Hars, and going into the SEC. Now we're really talking about generational wealth, where your contract goes from 10, 12 million or whatever to 35 million or whatever.
And again, that's like per year.
Yeah.
Some of these coaches.
Yeah.
Like the 10 million. Yeah.
Your SEC contract annually is probably almost what, Spencer's making for 5 years. I mean, that's not too far-fetched these days. So, you can go chase that, but, and I don't mean to speak for him or whatever, but, Hars was here at a different era. It was pre-Jeremiah Dickey.
Yeah.
And so I think that now you look at it and you constantly hear Spencer talk about how much support he has from Jeremiah and how much belief he has in Jeremiah, that Jeremiah is a massive part of this too. And I think that's a huge deal or a huge reason why I think Spencer's going to be here for a long time. Another reason, his mentors are Chris Peterson and Dirk Cutter, and those guys know the value of living in the city of trees and coaching it at Boise State. And so one thing I am very confident in, if and when the time does come, it will be understandable and explainable, like when Chris Peterson went to UW. He's not taking an SEC job, the best job in America, still a very good job, don't get me wrong here, but he's taking a job that he knows culturally is going to fit what he wants to do. And at that point in time, UW was, as hard as it is for me to admit this as a Washington State fan, UW was the perfect place for him, and the results showed.
Well, and you talked about Cutter, a guy who left for Arizona State, at the time, much better situation, much better program. And then Coach Pete, told all of us, he still had conversations with Cutter, when Cutter was in the NFL and he saw what Boise State was becoming during those first Fiesta Bowl years, and Cutter was like, man, why did I leave? That's what I wanted. I wanted the program to grow into that. I left, and now everything's happening where I left, which I'm sure is part of why he came back to sort of be a consultant and be the OC to help fill in. So I know that I think you're probably right. That Danielson would leave for the perfect situation, not just any sort of money.
And I even think perfect situation, I still feel like that is even, years down the road from identifying what that is even for himself personally. Probably the biggest fear I'd have is more so probably Jeremiah getting interest from somewhere else and knowing how much he believes in Spencer. That's completely speculative right there, but that just happens if in today's college athletic landscape. You have a lot of head coaches that leave and go places, and they take their best players. There's no different in the AD world. So,
speaking of Broncos leaving, spring transfer portal closed now. Boise State could still have players leave for greener pastures somehow if they've entered the portal or just, I don't know, maybe take a year off. Do you see a lot of that happening?
I don't. I think that the roster is pretty set right now. I think that you've had, actually three, because you go back. Prince Strawn entered it pretty early, right after the season, transferred to USC. Andrew Simpson and James Ferguson Reynolds both entered the transfer portal. Both of those guys were starters, one on special teams, one on defense. But I think they're pretty good roster-wise right now. I only see them adding, not losing, really, at this point.
So, way too early prediction. Broncos, we went position by position last episode. But How do you feel the Broncos do this year?
So
do they win that conference again? Do they get back in the playoffs?
I think they're definitely the favorites to win the conference. The playoff is, I mean, it's gonna take a more. I hate to say more of a team effort, but they're just not going to be able to rely on those moments that Ashton Genty provided them, each and every game. So they're going to have to figure that out. But I think that they have, within reason, absolutely, they can contend to get back to the college football playoff. I fully expect them to, and would be disappointed if they're not in the discussion come December next year. I think that, I think, last time we also talked about Braxton Feely on the previous episode and getting him, he goes into the portal, comes back out of the portal, commits to Boise State again, which that can create a dangerous precedence there. You don't want your players thinking like, I'm just going to go test the portal knowing I can always come back. Yeah. So I think there are some really hard discussions there team-wide of letting him back on the team, I'm guessing. But they let him back, and I think that, just having him back on the defensive line, that changes the trajectory of this team and how I feel about the defense overall immensely.
Well, speaking of conferences, looking further ahead, Boise State going to be joining the Pac-12 in most sports in 2026. Until then, though, the Pac-12 only actually has 2 teams. Yeah. I can't explain the math. Also, the Big Ten has 18 teams. Don't know what to tell you.
You can't explain 2?
I can't. No, I took liberal arts math. Brother, I was a comms major. All right, so let's take a look at your alma mater's football schedule announcement and tell me what stands out to you. Put it up on the big board. You got U of I back on there. Okay,
yeah, that actually is cool. I think that rivalry needs to happen, especially as Washington State's really trying to put together. Yes, they're in the Pac-12, but basically
they play UW.
Yeah, and an
Apple
independent
Cup back
schedule.
Happening. Here's my question. You see, okay, they play Oregon State on 11-1, and then wait a second, they play them again on the 29th. They've scheduled the same team in a home and away.
In the same month.
In the same month, in the same year. I've never heard of this happening ever before in the modern era on a regular season schedule. Jay, what in the world is going on?
Yeah, the Ole Miss trip should be fun.
That's not what I'm asking about.
Not that I can go.
James Madison, that's a trap game. But really, I mean, you only have 2 teams, so I guess they're just like, well, they figured we'll play each other twice.
Yeah, they figured that do that twice in the same month because the game on September 20th, 9/20, is an automatic W for Washington State.
The smack talk.
Literally nothing to do with your question, but I just had to point
Apple
that
Cup.
out. It's they're doing what they have to do to survive, both those programs this season, and then next year will be the first year of the full new Pac-12 venture. But they're doing what they had to do, and in all honesty, we were kind of talking about this before the show even began. It's weird to see it on a schedule like now that they're playing twice, but this does happen in just a different form. Boise State played UNLV twice last year. One was in Vegas in the regular season. The second one was on the blue for the Mountain West title. So, it's weird because
conference title game. So you do see that.
You do see it. You just don't see it like pre-scheduled on the regular season in May. You don't see it like that.
Real quick, that Pac-12 conference, Boise State is going to join. How competitive do you think they're going to be? And who do you see them adding as another football program? Because they still got to add one more.
They do. I see them being competitive immediately in football. Sure. I mean, I think they set the standard almost immediately in football.
Yeah. For hoops, they got to contend against Gonzaga.
Yeah, that'll be tough. But, man, Gonzaga coming to extra mile once a year.
Awesome.
That's amazing, right? Yeah, I think in terms of who they add, I think we start to find some of this out sooner than later. July 1's a big day because that's when the fiscal 26 year begins for universities, right?
Okay.
And that's when, so in July 1st, 2026, that's when the actual move to the Pac-12 happens, right?
Okay.
I still think you're looking at Texas State, UNLV, Memphis. I wish I could give you a pecking order, but I don't think I have one. I think they really got to look at UNLV again. I think UNLV really has to look at the Pac-12 again, in my opinion.
Bigger market team, absolutely a history of success, especially in hoops. Alrighty. We're going to be right back after this when Jay and I talk about something we actually have in common. What's after this? Welcome back. As we record this, our favorite team Seattle Mariners in first place in the division. They finally added a couple bats that they've been needing since I think Lou Piniella was managing. Jay, should we both be ready to be hurt again by believing in this team?
I am ready. I am ready for the pain. Bring it. Absolutely.
They're just winning series after series, and they're doing it with offense. And I'm like, when are they going to get back to losing games 2-1?
I don't know why you had to say that, because it's probably enough for it to.
Because I've been doing this longer than you.
Oh, it's probably enough for it to flip it back in the depressed and sad situation. But no, they're playing well. I love it. It's awesome. Jorge Polanco has just been on fire, man. And they had him last year, and he was hurt, and he had a terrible season. They bring him back on.
Right. I'm going to have to cut Jay off of convincing himself that this is okay. Text, comments, or questions to 283-215-614, #JustIN.